What's going on, guys? It's Michael, and today I'm going to be briefly discussing some movies I watched during the month of June. This will be similar to that of my April 2023 catch-up video, which was split into two parts. And in this video, I'll be discussing three different movies I watched. The first one will be Pixar's Elemental, the second will be Wes Anderson's Asteroid City, and the new R-rated comedy from Jennifer Lawrence, No Hard Feelings. So, without any further ado, let's get started. The first movie I want to touch upon is Pixar's Elemental. It takes place in a world where land, water, fire, and air all coexist with one another. We follow Ember as she's trying to become the new manager of her father's shop. She's a part of the Fire Society, and later on, when things go wrong, she meets a guy named Wade who's part of the Water Society, and eventually they both realize that they have a lot more in common than they initially thought. And they eventually fall in love. When it comes to Pixar, this is a company I have adored ever since I was a little kid. All their movies from the 2000s have a special place in my heart, and if it weren't for them, I'm not sure if I have the same passion in movies as I do today. They are the reason why I'm studying film today, and whenever they release a new movie, I'm always really curious to see what they have in store. Despite that, I've noticed a trend of inconsistency over the past decade, especially over the 2010s. I mean, you had movies like Inside Out and Coco, which reached pretty close to what came in the 2000s, but then you had some other movies that were just misses or were mediocre at best. And the 2020s haven't really been a whole lot better either. Yeah, you get movies like Soul and Luca, but there's other movies like Onward and Turning Red and Lightyear, which I was really high on when I first watched it, but as time went on, I just started to like it less and less. So it's just been a little bit disheartening to see the company that I love so much just fall into a road of inconsistency. But despite that, I'm always going to give them a shot. They have enough goodwill. When it came to Elemental, I wasn't too impressed with the trailers. Yeah, the animation looked really good, but it just felt like something I've seen before, kind of like a Inside Out or a little bit of Soul. It just kind of seemed like Pixar was playing it safe with this one, with the story and just some of the other elements, no pun intended. So I went in with moderate expectations, and after leaving Elemental, it turned out to be a pretty solid movie. It's an enjoyable Pixar movie. It's not up in their top tier list, but it is pretty solid, and I would say it is better than last year's Lightyear. First off, the animation is incredible as always. I mean, it's Pixar. They're always going to knock it out of the park when it comes to animation. I really enjoyed the world. I thought it was very creative and unique. And the voice work was pretty solid too, mainly from the two main characters and the romance that goes on. In a way, it kind of reminded me of WALL-E with the romance aspect and even the musical score. I'd say the romance works pretty well for the most part, but they don't push the boundaries. It's a pretty basic love story, and coming from a company of Pixar, that can be a little bit disappointing to some because they are known to pushing the boundaries to simple stories. But here it's pretty basic, which is not bad at all. I'm not gonna lie though, I did feel its runtime. It's an hour and 53 minutes or something like that, but it honestly felt longer. I thought the pacing was pretty lackluster during the second and third half of the movie. It does pick up a little bit, but I could just tell sometimes, even when I'm looking at my watch, just saying, how long do we have this movie? And then it's we still have quite a while. I do think the pacing could have been a lot better. Also, I thought the third act was pretty lackluster. It just kind of left on a underwhelming note and was pretty predictable. But with what they crafted, I think they did a pretty solid job with the movie overall. Romance works well, voice acting is great as always, and animation is top tier. There is a lot to like in Elemental, and there's still a lot of power left with Pixar and their goodwill. It's just, I feel like they're playing it a little bit too safe nowadays. Overall, I would recommend Elemental. I don't think I'd rush to go see this in theaters, but it's a solid watch overall. So with that said, I'm going to be giving Elemental a B-. Next up on the list is Wes Anderson's Asteroid City. This is the latest film from the acclaimed director, as we follow the world of a made-up stage play. We follow a grieving father as he takes his kids and family to a rural place called Asteroid City to participate in a stargazing contest, only for the father's perspective on life to be disturbed forever. I'm gonna be honest for a second, when it comes to Wes Anderson, I've only seen one out of all of his movies. That being The Grand Budapest Hotel, which is an amazing movie. I can't recommend it enough. It's really funny and heartfelt, and it's got some great production design. So going into Asteroid City, I was very interested not only with what I've seen from Wes Anderson before, but I thought the trailers looked pretty solid as well. The production design was there and the cast was stacked. And as for the movie itself, I thought it was a really enjoyable watch. I don't think it was on the same level as something like the Grand Budapest Hotel, but for the most part, Wes Anderson's style and production design, pretty much everything is here in Asteroid City. I really like how it told its story through like acts of a play, since this is a movie where it takes place in a fictional world, and as the same title of the movie, Asteroid City. It's split into different sections. At the beginning of the movie, it's like the prologue, and then later on you get like Act 1 / Act 3, and it just goes on, and I really appreciated the narrative structure. You also got some top-tier production design with the city itself. It looks like it came out straight from the 50s. It is awesome. The movie shot very well too. It kind of has a bit of an old school feel to it, which I really appreciate. You have some scenes that are in color and then other scenes that are in black and white, as we have the narrator discussing what is going on in the play. It was an interesting way to look at a father's grief and how he deals with it throughout the play. There's also one scene with a certain actor that caught me completely off guard, and the audience I was with, everyone was just laughing hysterically, and it's like, what are they doing here? This is insane. As a whole, this is another solid movie from Wes Anderson. It's very artsy, which I think will turn off some people, especially with how the movie is structured and what goes on during it. But if you're a fan of Wes Anderson, I think you're really going to enjoy Asteroid City. And with that said, I'm going to be giving Asteroid City an A-. I'm really looking forward to checking out more of his stuff, his previous movies, and I believe he has a short film releasing on Netflix this fall, so I'll definitely be watching some more Wes Anderson movies just to see what he has to offer. But we gotta move on now. The next and final movie I want to briefly touch upon is the newest R-rated comedy with Jennifer Lawrence, No Hard Feelings. The story follows Maddie as she finds a Craigslist ad detailing a boy who, let's just say, hasn't really gotten out of his shell that much. He's played it safe throughout most of his life and will soon be going to college. And she decides to take this Craigslist ad in order to date him and try to get him out of his shell in promise of a new car at the end of the summer. And over the course of the movie, both of them get into crazy shenanigans, and Maddie realizes there's more to this boy than initially thought. So it's basically a raunchy romantic comedy. I remember seeing a trailer for this back in March, and I was just thinking to myself, man, this is a wild premise for a movie. I don't think I've seen a premise like this that kind of goes a little bit out there in a long time in terms of like the comedy genre. And apparently this movie was based off a real life Craigslist ad, which is nuts. We live in a crazy world. So with the trailers, I thought it looked pretty funny, but I was a little bit worried that they put the best jokes in the trailer, and with the movie itself, it'd just be a miss. So I went in with slightly low expectations, and after leaving the theater, I was laughing really hard. This is a very funny movie with a great performance from Jennifer Lawrence. She brings her A game here, and she's really good at comedy too. Despite the premise, I thought the romance worked really well, and it's surprisingly heartfelt too. I mean, we follow the boy who is going to be going into college as he's really just trying to like elevate himself, trying to get himself out there a little bit more, along with dating Maddie. I just thought it was a pretty good dynamic, and both actors work very well together. And there's one scene in here where I was just laughing hysterically. If you've seen the movie, you know which scene I'm talking about. It's hilarious, and it's definitely not afraid to get out there in certain scenes. It's a similar romance story you've heard before, and some jokes didn't really land for me. But for the most part, I had a really good time with No Hard Feelings. It's very funny, surprisingly heartfelt, and I thought it had a pretty solid conclusion at the end. So if you're looking for a good laugh in theaters, I'd recommend going to go see No Hard Feelings. I really hope this leads to more R-rated comedies on the big screen, as I believe movies like this deserve to be seen with a crowd of people as they just laugh and enjoy themselves the whole way through. So overall, No Hard Feelings, pleasant surprise. With that said and done, I'm going to be giving No Hard Feelings a B. So those were my quick thoughts on those three movies. I hope you guys enjoyed the video, and be sure to look out for my Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny review. As of the recording of this video, I'll be seeing the movie tonight for its opening night premiere, so expect the review sometime tomorrow or Saturday morning. With all that said and done, I'll see y'all on the next one.